The New York City Football Club wins their first road match in 2025. Their opponent this weekend, FC Cincinnati, 5 wins on the trot, all by a single goal. The New York City gaffer, he's going to give us a thorough evaluation of the latest player to be added to the first team. He hasn't arrived yet, but we're going to get a good, thorough evaluation. And also, one of New York City's most popular players, Anton Tinnerholm, announced his retirement early this morning in Sweden. So we got a jam-packed NYCFC Views Live.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome, everybody. We are live. We are in New Jersey. We are in New York. We are global. This is available worldwide. Views Live. We hope you're spreading the word and tuning in each week. I'm Glenn Crooks. There's Roberto Abramowitz, both back from training today in Orangeburg, New York, where we were wondering if we were going to get a glimpse at the new guy, Aidan O'Neill. Not the case, not in yet. There's no indication as to when he will arrive. It's a visa thing, and visa things are what they are. We don't really ever know when they're going to get in. It's
especially now.
Yeah. So, but in a moment, talking to Pascal, part of the pregame show coming up on the English side on Sunday at Citi Field, I really wanted to hear from the head coach, why he brought him in, because the way Pascal has been talking about the possibility of transfers, has to be the perfect fit, the perfect guy. So we're going to find out why he thinks this guy is the perfect guy.
He did go into detail, so and you'll get a chance to play it. And look, I understand it. I mean, one of the strong suits of New York City is having a very tight dressing room. And so you don't want somebody to come in there and become, a narcissist, and then all of a sudden that becomes a problem. So it's good that they're doing this. It's always been a positive for New York City, the fact that they're very careful about the type of player that they bring in, so they can try to avoid this as much as possible.
There was a great article in The Athletic, Roberto. I don't know if you saw this. I can't. Somebody reposted it. The author of the article is Andy Jones. It came from November of 2020, and it was when Aidan O'Neill. It tells the story of Aidan O'Neill as a 17-year-old starting at Burnley, and his coach was Sean Dyche. And he told a great little story about being at the training ground as a 17-year-old, and then meeting with Sean Dyche after training, sort of in a regular way, like all the players would do from time to time. And he said, this is O'Neill describing what Sean Dyche said. He just said, it looked like I was pulling out of challenges every now and again. And again, this is in training. And what O'Neill then said to Dyche was he said he was really concerned about accidentally maybe injuring one of his frontline players, one of his key first-team players. And if you know Sean Dyche, this is perfect. This is just such a great response. He turned around and said to O'Neill, F that. You can't be like that. You're there to take someone else's position, and you have to go and show it. That should always be the attitude. I love that.
I think it's great. And, I think sometimes, players go in, I'm not going to say demure, mind you, but, they don't want to cause a wave and they don't want to get anybody hurt. And then, there's other players who are like, this is my life. And if I don't go for everything, then I'm going to, why am I here? So,
well, what happens, though, you have to have
O'Neill, I'm being that way, but now understanding what he has to do.
Well, you have to have players who are cooperative to that end. I mean, let's face it, you have those sensitive players that, if the youngster comes in and chops you down with a hard tackle that's legal. I've seen professionals get pissy in training when somebody comes in hard on them, and so there's got to be an understanding. I believe there is a pretty deep understanding with this New York City team. Watching them train today is an example of how hard they go at it against each other. And no one is trying to do anything other than work hard. There's big tackles. You don't see anybody pulling out of anything generally, except maybe not trying to destroy the goalkeeper. That's maybe the only time. But I think that's common sense.
Well, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And look, thankfully, nobody gets hurt on these things, or at least we haven't seen that in practice. And, everybody understands that that's the way the team wants the team to practice. And so everybody goes there because, look, at the end of the day, they all want to play. And if they're not, performing in practice, and coaches are not going to put them on the field during the game. It's very, very simple. So you got to go out there and earn your spot. And you got to go out every day and earn your spot because, as we've seen with New York City, there's nobody who's inked in permanently. I mean, if you're not playing well, maybe they'll give you one game, like, all right, that happens. But if you go through a series of games, I don't, even with the low depth, I think that there'll be players that are benched.
I think Alonso Martinez, as long as he's healthy, has a spot in the lineup, even if he has a couple of stinkers. But that's
well, he gets a couple more. But then again, he's been performing fantastically all the way throughout. I mean, it would take a long time for him to go out, considering that there really isn't a true like-for-like replacement as far as quality is concerned.
All right, so absolutely not. Bakrar is still shut out for the season in nearly 300 minutes. Before we get to the Toronto game, which was a huge win for the club, and then Cincinnati coming in as the best team in MLS over the last 5 games in MLS play, Vancouver obviously right with them. Let's hear, and then I'd like to get your reaction to this too. So this is Pascal Jansen. The question is about Aidan O'Neill, 26 years old, midfielder. And as you listen to Pascal describe Aidan O'Neill, I think it's pretty apparent that he's going to be an integral part of whatever happens the rest of the way. So here's Pascal.
Former captain of all the teams that he's played for. He knows what it takes to win matches and win titles. So that's a huge plus for us in our own dressing room. And him as a player on the pitch is very interesting because he has a very complete profile as a midfield player. He can connect the build-up phases in possession. He can play box to box. He plays with a huge amount of energy also. He's working on his outcome in the final third, which is an interesting one. When we had our conversation, that was also one of my questions, and we made an agreement that we'll keep working on that once he's here. And out of possession, he plays with good aggression. He likes to press, and he's able to bring that energy what this team demands from each other.
So he has the quality, because you've oftentimes mentioned Keaton Parks when he's out of the game. Mm-hmm. Your midfielders are not on the ball in the manner that you would like to for your team to attack.
Yeah.
So you see him as being capable. If Parks is out of there, obviously they're going to play together as well.
Yeah.
But if something happens to Keaton Parks, he can fill that role.
Yeah, very much so. And that's the interesting thing about Aidan, because he has qualities either to fit the profile that Keats can bring to the game. He fits the qualities that Johnny Shore can bring to the game. And if necessary, I'm convinced that he can also play in the area where Maxi Rodriguez is playing a lot. So it's a big opportunity for him and a big asset for our dressing room.
In getting a chance to communicate with someone who coached him previously, one of the things that stood out to me was the leadership side of things. The comment was he knows when and how to demand things from those around him.
Yeah.
Have you sensed that quality? And how long will it take somebody to come in new and be that player?
Yeah.
Because it's certainly something that's necessary within the framework.
Yeah, it is necessary. I think we can use that type of leadership also within our team. We have a few leaders in the team who do a very good job. But with Aidan coming in, it will only reinforce that power which is needed. As normal, Glenn, it works its way on the pitch because the pitch never lies. So once Aidan is on the pitch and he shows his qualities and what he can add to our dressing room, which I'm fully confident in that it will be a lot, that will be accepted. And what I've heard and what I've seen and what we've talked about, he's a natural leader. So it will come in time. And leading by example is priority in this case.
All right, head coach Pascal Jansen on Aidan O'Neill. By the way, I mentioned Anton Tinnerholm in our Kicking Around segment. I've got a nice chat with Anton early this morning, Roberto, Eastern time. So I got up just in time.
You were always up early, so not surprising
it wasn't
that
that
you're
big a
up
deal.
in Stockholm time.
Yes, it was Stockholm time. And so Anton, Pat Noonan, I got on his presser, asked a couple of questions. And this is it's what I like to do. So it's so we'll present some of that, but a good portion of the Anton interview coming up in a little bit. So I think that quality that I've heard from someone who had coached him, that he's demanding of his teammates, and I think Pascal was kind in saying, well, we have that's, we do have some players who exhibit that. I don't, to the extent necessary to demand and put accountability on teammates, I don't think that guy is in the squad. Maxi Morales is a good leader, but is he one that demands this excellence in a way that the players maybe respond the way they need to? Thiago Martins, we've seen that, he can get agitated, but is that impactful? That's to me that you demanding it. I love that word, man. Demanding accountability.
I think, I mean, especially from Thiago, I think that of all the players out there, and that includes Matt Freese too, because Matt Freese isn't a goalie that yells at defenders and things like that very often. I mean, he's not Tony Meola with that. It's an interesting way to be able to lead. I like it, by the way, because I think he's effective. But of the guys that are there, Thiago Martins is the one that probably exhibits more of that than anybody else. And that's why he wears the captain's armband. He's, aside from Maxi, he's the most experienced player on the field. So, you would expect that. And also his proficiency in several languages also makes him an ideal captain as far as that's concerned. Now, when Aidan gets here, he's going to be able to provide a lot of support with that. It's going to take a while before he becomes somebody who, they start listening to, because he's got to earn that as well, right? You just don't walk in and become that unless you're like some major superstar. And then, that happens. So he's going to have to come in and do that, and he'll learn that a little bit. Obviously, what I don't know, and I don't know if he speaks other languages aside from English. So I don't know how well he's going to be able to communicate with some of the other players, but I mean, they'll understand. And I'm talking about the Julian Fernandez's of the world and the Agustin Ojeda's of the world, right? I mean, everybody else pretty much speaks some sort of level of English, and they're learning, but I don't know how advanced they are as far as that's concerned.
Well, he's on his way from Standard Liège. Was at Melbourne City before that. He's Australian, so I'm going to guess he doesn't have captured the Spanish language, but I could be surprised. I
don't know. I'm not even going to venture to guess. Just going to leave it there. Hopefully he does, but we'll find out.
We'll find out pretty soon. But again, not in camp. Aidan O'Neill. So New York City. And another question, and I'm not playing that response here. The full interview with Pascal will be up on my podcast, On Frame, this other podcast. I put all the pregame shows up there, which I think is pretty interesting. I don't, just because I do the interviews, I do think some interviews are better than others because that's the way interviews go. But I just think you pick up, even if at halftime of the games, you can go back and listen to the pregame. I can't put it up yet because it's got things in there that maybe we don't want told until
game time,
15 minutes before kickoff, after the lineups have been revealed. But it's
and we're very lucky, Glenn, right? I mean, I sit in on most of your interviews with Pascal. right, to see what I can glean. And also, I get a chance to throw some questions in either before you start or after you finish. And it's not questions that I can share here. I mean, it's the same in what you're talking about that we can use during the broadcast or just before the game starts. What I like about Pascal, and Nick was the same way, and pretty much everybody we've had has been the same way, with maybe the exception of why am I blanking on his name now? Jason Christ.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, aside from Jason Christ, once they get to know us, right, and it doesn't take long to understand, what we're trying to get at, they're pretty trustworthy, they're pretty trustful of us. And they're very open with us as far as things that they want to do. And, it's nice to get that level of communication where we can have exchanges and, we can find out things of why they're happening or why they're not happening. And especially Pascal is very open about, talking about players who have made mistakes. He's obviously first spoken to the player, and he's told us this, that he won't tell us anything that he hasn't already told the player. So, and I think that that's great leadership from him. And then players know that they've got to be accountable, and they're going to be publicly accountable for, some of the things. And then they've got to deal with it, move on, get better, and learn from it, which is the whole point of all of this, right? The whole point of holding somebody accountable isn't to punish somebody. It's for them to get better, to improve, for them to learn. And you've got to figure out ways to be able to motivate people to be able to learn and be better.
Those are the best managers. They know how to deal with each player because each player has a different personality. Each player wakes up on a different side of the bed. Each player has a different family situation. Each player has different skill sets. Each player has, you can go on and on and on with this. It's a difficult job, but it's pretty rewarding too when things work out. So right now it's 4-4-2 for New York City FC, 9th place, so they're right on the playoff line. It's still early, but nearly a third of the season's over, Roberto. So these games count. And remember that July look, May is tough. Everybody was talking about May today. 8 games in May. Okay, I get that.
Could be 9.
I'm still mostly concerned with July when there's like 5 consecutive road games, June and July, overlapping and these road games are like in, 100 degrees and then 100 degrees. And those are going to be so leading into July, for me, they've got to be in decent shape in terms of the table so that they can, and the secondary transfer window will not have produced any other players by the time they have to play all these games as well. So, we just lost Roberto. So I will now move on to another Pascal clip from my interview with him today, which will again air on the NYCFC pregame show, which will be at 2:45 on Sunday. It's a Sunday matinee. So we know that at Toronto, big win on the road. So I asked Pascal, hey, how about winning on the road, man?
Yeah, that's something that was also emphasized going into this season, obviously. We were very close a few times on the road. If it's not Miami, if it's not Atlanta, very close. But close is not good enough. And that's something we realized really, really well. Now that it did happen, we got the 3 points and we deserved it also. Is a huge boost for us, but nothing more than that. We just look forward to playing the next game, away or at home.
All right, so no big celebration for the road win, although sometimes you think that maybe the champagne should come out because of the difficulties on the road. I mean, it's really been tribulations away from home. But the games he mentioned, Miami 2-2, easily could have won that one. 4-3 loss in Atlanta. We know, up 3-1 and they score 3 unanswered. I mean, these things, that doesn't generally happen. And it
hasn't happened to Atlanta since. They're in a free fall.
Yeah, that's not going well. So their most recent is a 3-0 loss in Orlando, and they're already talking about Ronnie Dyla being on the hot seat down there. Anyway, I hope that's not the case. I mean, you got to give someone a little. I'm certain that they're not going to sack him like in 2 weeks. It's not going to happen. But I also had thought at LAFC they only lost 1-0 New York City. But Pascal was quick to point out our attack was poor. We didn't have any chances. I think he looked at that more like, nah, that was not a good road game.
I agree. I mean, they held. I mean, they were holding, until what was it, like the 80th minute, 80-something minute, and then they allowed the goal. I mean, they could have gotten out of there with a 0-0 tie, which would have been, a nice point to get considering how they had played. But it didn't happen. But I mean, look, if you look at this team, it's still a flawed team. It's a 500 team right now. So yes, they'd make the playoffs because they'd be in 9th place. But it would be a situation where, they're still not at the point of where they should be. And it's a team that still lacks a ton of depth. The positive thing has been that a lot of the kids that are getting a chance to play and develop and shine and probably have grown more than they would have grown had this been a complete team. So, and I'm talking about Johnny Shore especially. But it's still not a complete team. And offensively, they still have to be able to create more. And now going into the game against Cincinnati.
12 goals in 10 games. You think they need more? Absolutely. Yes, and six of them by Alonso Martinez. And Micha Ilinic and Kevin O'Toole unavailable on the weekend. Ilinic is coming off the thigh strain. He was training today, but they're not going to risk it. And O'Toole went down in the 65th minute at Toronto, and so he's got some sort of an injury that it's hard to calculate how long he'll be out, but we think it'll be for more than one game. So you got 2 fullbacks down. So that now your flexibility lessens there as well. Tavon Gray is healthy. Nico Cavallo is healthy. And so we'll see how he decides to come out in this one.
Yeah, I mean, at least you got that. And then we asked him off the record, what the backup is, and there was absolutely a backup plan. So, but we're not going to talk about that here. But there definitely was, and he felt very, very comfortable with it. So, good for that. But as we were talking about it, Glenn, was the fact that this team still needs depth, and Aidan O'Neill probably doesn't come in if he. I mean, probably the earliest that we might see him might be in the DC game. So that's a couple of games away in a midweek out at Audi Field. That is probably the earliest we might see him. So, we presume he is training hard on his own wherever he might be, and that he could be able to get a couple of training sessions in, and if needed, he could play a few minutes in that game.
All right. Well, no doubt he's working out on his own or with a team or with some friends, but he sat out the last 2 games for Standard Liège before the transfer. Well, look, how about the team that the New York City is playing, Cincinnati? Oh, New York City only played Cincinnati 6 times last year. I mean, that was unbelievable. And, of course, advancing in the playoffs on penalties, which was a massive upset as far as the odds makers were concerned. And so, Pascal has obviously reviewed some of those games, and he talked about that it's a familiar foe, but they've added Evander and Kevin Denke, 6 goals apiece. So those 2 together combined have scored as many goals as New York City as a team. So just keep that in mind. So they're really – and when you have more than one goal scorer, and this is what New York City lacks, and I've brought it up with Pascal before, and I'm sure you have too, is – championship teams, there are none that only have one goal scorer. It's just you can't do it.
You can't, because it just doesn't work. Everybody's got to be able to pull their weight and contribute. Now you got a couple of guys. Hannes Wolf has got 3 goals so far this season. You've gotten goals from Keaton Parks, but it just hasn't been enough. And you expect more especially from Ojeda, Fernandez, even Wolf. He's got to do more. And then maybe somebody out of midfield, also start being able to put balls in the net.
Well, Wolf, he had a brace against Atlanta in a loss. And that's his only brace as a member of the club. Now, that game was on March
in his career.
March the 29th. Okay, in his career. What I'm saying is he is not historically a guy that's going to fill up the back of the net. So Pascal, anybody can mention Hannes Wolf to me in terms of goal scoring, and I'm not going to buy it. He might end up with 8 goals. I think that would be a pretty good figure for what we see from Hannes Wolf. And then I think he's more of a creator than a goal scorer. So, 8 goals, 10 assists, that would be a nice ledger for Hannes Wolf. I would go for that.
I would definitely go for that. And look, we were looking up stats today. We were doing a whole bunch of things because we've got some numbers about free kicks that we were going through today, and they're pretty stunning. We might share some of them here. But when we were looking up, the leading assist, the leading assister for New York City, and these are primary assists only. Tavon Gray last season was 7 assists.
Yeah. He had a good year.
He really did. Offensively, there's 2 things that he did really, really well last season. He got much, much better with service. He got even better than we knew he was as far as defending one-on-one. But he had a lot of issues with bad turnovers, especially in horrific places that, immediately led to putting your goal, your defense and your goaltender under immense pressure. And that is something that, he's going to have to work on. And I haven't seen anything like that so far this season, which is great. But, now that he's going to be playing, he's got he's going to have to contribute a lot, in that same manner as he did last year.
Fernandez Ojeda. Fernandez, 21 years old. Ojeda's 20 years old. I don't care how old they are. If they don't start scoring goals, New York City's in, I think, fairly substantial difficulties. I'll just leave it at that. They have to start scoring goals, period. Monsef Bakrar, I think we're going to get an indication as we move forward here where he lays in the Pascal Jansen stable and tier as he decides who's going to be who comes in for Martinez, who comes in next to Martinez, all those kinds of things. And I don't know what's going to happen there, but
he's got to score. You're talking about guys. Because he's going to get a lot of opportunities. This team plays, as you said, 8 times in May, and if they beat the Pittsburgh Riverhounds on the U.S. Open Cup, that means that they're going to play 9 times in May. He's going to get a lot of minutes. And he's going to have to start contributing as far as goals are concerned. We know his work ethic. We know how hard he goes.
Who are you talking about? I don't know.
Bakrar.
Yeah, I don't think out of those 9 games,
he's going to play. He's going to play. You're not going to burn out Martinez, and then Martinez is going to be gone for Gold Cup. So he's going to be playing a lot this summer.
Well, okay. If he doesn't start producing, I disagree. There'll be other things that Pascal Jansen, 52 years old, veteran coach, over a couple of 100 games. We'll see. I'm just saying. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with you, and we both love Monsef Bakrar, so it's nothing.
The guy's a great guy, and his work ethic is unquestioned. The results, sadly, have not been there. They've not accompanied him. It's not for the lack of trying. You can say it's the lack of whatever, but it's not there. And he's got to start contributing as far as scoring goals. He just has to. But what are you going to do? You're going to play without a striker? I've seen it in the past, mind you, but who's going to score?
I told you, if those Argentinian boys don't start scoring goals, there are going to be major problems, I think, as far as, points and, getting yourself into good playoff position. Now, FC Cincinnati has won 5 in a row. They are top of the Eastern Conference table, second only to Vancouver in the overall standings. And all 5 wins, Roberto, by a single goal, which I think is just – and how about this? They are 34-8 in 1-goal games since 2023. So they know how to win by 1 goal. So I told you I hopped on this Pat Noonan press conference this morning, and I asked him 2 questions. The first one was, about this. So here's Noonan on the 5 straight.
Our box defending's been very strong. We've struggled at times in some of these games with decision making, and it's led to us having to defend in transition. But I think, our back line, Roman and goal, the 2 holding midfielders specifically understanding how to delay in certain moments, understanding how to, block crosses, block shots. The commitment's been excellent. And so there's been a lot of moments where I think, we could have been exposed or conceded a goal, but, they've done an excellent job in those moments, and I think that's it.
Matt Miazga, Miles Robinson, Nick Hagglund. That's their back 3. The guys in front of them, Pavel Buka, and I don't know who will start, but Wobodo had been injured, but he's fully fit. When you see the injury list come out on whenever you put it on Saturday for the Sunday game, there will not be a single FC Cincinnati player on that list. Kubo's back. They are 100% fit. And Anunga has also played a pretty big role in the midfielder to give Evander that flexibility. But there you go. And then when I asked Pascal about it, remember what he said? He goes, "It's not surprising that he's talking about the spine, but this is a back 3 that has been at times impenetrable. So this is a challenge for New York City."
100%. And I'm interested to see. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, how New York City hasn't had that much luck being able to play against 3 in the back or 5 in the back, however, the teams want to set up when they're not setting up with, just 4. And although they did better against Toronto and they were able to get a lot of shots on that game, no, there weren't a lot that were like really dangerous. There was obviously the goal, which is on a penalty. There's one ball that was saved off the line by a defender. But after that, there was nothing that really comes to mind that you were, putting Toronto under a ton of pressure, despite the fact of having, I think it was 12 shots during the game. But they've had difficulty against that formation. And I wonder also that with the friendly confines of Citi Field, 110 by 70, if that doesn't wind up playing more into Cincinnati's hands than it does into New York City's hands, because they're able to pressure New York City a lot quicker.
Well, the thing is that if New York City is putting crossing balls in the air into that penalty area with Miazga and Robinson in there in particular, Hagelund's pretty good too, but Robinson is one of the best players in the air in the league, as is Miazga. So, and Alonso Martinez, he's not diminutive, but he certainly doesn't rise to that level for the air game. So you got to be.
That was my Miazga imitation.
Yeah. So you've got. Well, we'll see how what kind of mood Miazga's in. Whenever I think, especially when he comes back to the New York metropolitan area, he's got a little bit even more of an edge to him than when he's at home in Cincinnati. But it'll be good to, he'll have a lot of folks from Clifton, New Jersey out to see his game at Citi Field. And yeah, so this is this, and Celentano's been good in goal. He's got 4 clean sheets. Matt Freese, his opposite's got 3 clean sheets now. So yeah, that was a big part of that win in Toronto as well to keep it clean. Now I've got one other Noonan clip here. And I thought this was mighty interesting. So I'm just listening, and the local reporters are asking him questions, and they asked him about Alonso Martinez, and he just said, I remember watching him when I was at Philadelphia. So Pat Noonan was Jim Curtin's assistant at the Philadelphia Union. So I picked up on that later and asked him about that.
Yeah, it was he was a name that popped up, and I just remember me specifically. We were watching a Champions League game at the time, Champions Cup now, but just really liking the way he moved, the way he played. I think he was on the right wing at the time. I can't remember the opponent, but it was just a name that was interesting, and watching him play at that time, he stood out. And so I'm not sure if the conversations went that far. This was just my own personal views, but I do know his name was brought up, and I think since that time he's certainly continued to improve and been a very good player for NYC.
So he's talking about seeing him at Alajuelense, which was 2016 through 2021. Alajuelense. Sorry. Don't worry. Please do not focus on how I'm pronouncing the Costa Rican side. Alajuelense.
I'm just going to let you drown here. No problem.
I'm okay with drowning. I think the interesting part is that Jim Curtin was recruiting him in 2016 and knew about him. That's before he got to Lommel. That's before, which is a New York City is a city football group property. So he knew about him then. It sounded to me like he liked him more than maybe the sporting director did.
Ernst Tanner.
Yeah, they just didn't do anything with it. But now he's got a coach against him, so we'll see. But
no, and he's been fantastic for New York City. You couldn't be happier if you're David Lee with how Alonso Martinez has turned out.
I'd say so. And he was a winger, when Pat said when he saw him, and now obviously a striker extraordinaire. So let's see. What else do we have here? Did you know that FC Cincinnati is affectionately known as the Garys?
I had heard that a little bit, but it wasn't front of mind.
So it's
I
the
don't know
Garys.
what that means, though.
Well, I'm going to tell you. I've got it right
there
here.
You go. Here we go. That's what I wanted to hear. I didn't want.
No,
to
you wanted to hear me. You wanted to hear me perfect Alajuelense. I got that right. Yes. No. It's not A. It's not Huluense at the end. Is that what you're telling me? Just pronounce it.
Well, you said not to, so I've been keeping quiet.
All right.
Alajuelense, which comes from that comes from Alajuela. So if somebody from Alajuela is in Alajuelense, it's like being somebody from New York is a New Yorker. Alajuelense is basically the same thing as being from Alajuela.
I've said it properly a million times. I don't know why I couldn't spit it out this time, but thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
As far as the Garys are concerned, it's their mascot, Gary the Lion, and the nickname emerged from a fan-driven interpretation of the team's crest, and I don't have a picture of it to show you, so you just have to wait and see it on Sunday. It features a stylized winged lion. Some supporters noticed that the lion's torso and left arm could be loosely construed as spelling out the name Gary.
Really?
So, the observation gained traction on social media, leading to the lion being dubbed Gary the Lion. They are the Garys. I didn't know this until I read something 2 days ago. I'd never heard this before.
I'm looking at their media guide right now, and I don't see a picture of Gary.
Well, it's become an endearing fan-driven alias for FC Cincinnati, highlighting the unique and playful culture surrounding the club. Really? So the Garys versus the Pigeons, baby. You have any?
That is true.
Before we get to Anton Tinnerholm here, do you have any reaction to Nashville 7, Chicago 2 last week?
Wow, it was a beatdown. Things aren't going as well for Greg Berhalter as they are for his son. So,
oh my goodness, you're absolutely right on that one, man.
Well, although sadly for Vancouver, his son is not going to be able to play the final against Cruz Azul at Ciudad Universitaria, which is CU, the home of Pumas, temporary home of Cruz Azul, while they renovate Estadio Azteca.
That's going to be June the 1st, and Brian White, who's been doing a lot of the goal scoring, scored the opening goal. MLS Player of the Month for April as well. But Vancouver is leading in the Supporters Shield, 7-1-2. Cincinnati is second with the 7-2-1 mark. But Nashville 7, Chicago 2. So where did the Chicago Fire? They're 11, so they're 2 notches below. Nashville's in 6th place. But the intriguing part of that match, it's BJ Callahan versus Greg Berhalter. Sometimes we don't want to highlight the coaches versus the coaches. But
assistant versus head coach.
Yeah, well, it was the mentor-mentee thing, and Callahan, the longtime assistant to Berhalter with the U.S. men's national team, and yeah.
I think what surprises me more about that game, more than anything else, is that Nashville, we had been having all sorts of issues scoring up until that game. Put a 7th spot on them.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the highlights, but it was a pretty incredible show of goal scoring, but also calamitous defense. I was going to play the Berhalter cut. I did it. I played it on Sunday morning. I don't know if you saw it on social media, where he called it a disaster and apologized to the fan base, the ownership, and anybody else who would listen. So that was.
I am sure. So now, after 7 goals, they've got 19 goals. So that's pretty wild. And they've got, 3 set-piece goals already this season, and 4 penalty goals, including 2 in that game. No free kick goals. Do we want to go talk about some free kicks?
Well,
do we want to mention these? I think these stats are great, and so I think we have to go through them.
Just one thing on Vancouver. So they're in the final of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. I hadn't even realized this, but certainly remember it. That's 4 consecutive years that an MLS team has been in the final. So that hasn't always happened, obviously. So
against the Mexican
Seattle's
team.
the only one to win it. Yep, and we'll see how Vancouver does. Okay, what do you got?
As they beat Pumas. Okay, so we were wondering about free kicks, right? So we already knew that New York City, after the Goody Torrenson goal in Atlanta in 2021, which tied that game at 1 in the 90th minute, and then propelled New York City to win the championship. And it had been a long time before they had scored a free kick goal then. And then after that free kick goal, in MLS regular season, we're discounting everything else. In MLS regular season, New York City went 75 games without a free kick goal. And then Santi Rodriguez scored. And then a few games later, Hannes Wolf scored. So New York City had 2 goals in 2023? 24, right. In 2024. And that was the Raquinho game. And he scored Wolf scored a gorgeous goal on that free kick. New York City has not scored a free kick goal since. So far this season, they have 2 free kicks, period, that they've shot directly on goal. So now New York City is on a 35-game streak without a goal. So we decided to get our guy, Sean Cabrera, who does stats for me. And we decided to go and start looking this in a little bit deeper. And so since that goal by Hannes Wolf, Cincinnati has 8 free kick goals. They're the leader in all of MLS. They have 8 free kick goals. And then there are several teams that only have 1 free kick goal within that time. And that includes the Chicago Fire, DC United, Minnesota, Toronto FC, and Vancouver. And so there's a lot of teams going through what New York City is going through. Maybe we need some more specialists. Sebastian Giovinco's are missed in this league.
Well, Cincinnati, that's Lucho Acosta, and you specialists, man.
Last year, yeah.
You have to have specialists in that area. I found it very interesting in preseason. Burke Risa now is no longer in the 11, but he came up and smacked a free kick, and he hit it well and with purpose and precision, and and it was like, and I remember him last year saying he wanted to take more free kicks, and I thought, wow, and I had him pretty much locked into left central defense, but he's been beaten out of that spot by Justin Hack, at least for now, and so he's out of the mix. It's who takes the direct free kicks and who effectively. I mean, Alonso Martinez, he doesn't have. He could probably hit the ball with a dip, but I don't know off a dead ball. We haven't seen it. We
haven't seen it. It's been mostly Maxi Morales. It's been Hannes Wolf. So
Julian
it's been
Fernandez.
both Julian Fernandez. So that's been basically it.
boy, without that weapon, that takes a, 15 goals. Whew, that is.
I mean,
all right,
dead ball goals. The team has been okay. What do we have? 2. New York City has 2 dead ball goals so far this season, I believe. Let me see. I will tell you this in an instant.
Well, tell us after the break.
They have 3 set piece goals and 2 penalty goals.
Okay, very nice.
All I know is from open play, 12 in total.
Well, all I know is they conceded 2 corner kick goals against New England, and that were corner kicks that eventually led to goals against. But hopefully they've rectified that and got the road win in Toronto, and now they're getting all set for the number 1 FC Cincinnati. I'm really looking forward to Sunday's game. This morning got up very early, and here's our Kicking It Around segment. Kicking It Around. Let's go, Roberto. I'd say Anton Tinnerholm has been one of the more popular players over the years for the New York City Football Club. The guy that played with alacrity, he played with passion, the old heart on your sleeve rendition, and he was a motivator, and he was a leader, and he was a good fullback. He's the all-time assist leader. He's got I think 22 assists out of the back for New York City FC during his time. And unfortunately, his time expired at New York City in part to injury. It was Achilles, which he did recover from. But then he went back to Malmo, which is his home club team, where he came from to New York City, and just never worked out there because of this persistent groin injury. It's something they couldn't solve through surgery, Roberto, and it was really, it's very sad.
Yeah.
When you'll hear in the interview, we're going to play. We got 10 minutes of Anton coming up, and he'll talk about, the difference between the Achilles and this one. But it's unfortunate when you can't be in control of your retirement.
I fully agree. And it's so sad that you're forced to retire, due to injury, when you still want to play. That if you were healthy, you could contribute, and mentally you're still prepared to go out there and play.
Sure.
So, and it's a shame that injuries can cut careers short, but they do. And I'm interested to see, I don't know, I haven't heard the interview, so I'm interested to see if he's deciding to stay. I wanted to hear it here. So, if he's decided to stay in soccer.
Well, you'll hear. I'm not going to say.
There you go.
No. You will hear, but that is a good lead in talking about the difficulty mentally in not being able to recover from this injury, and that's where we start the interview here with Anton Tinnerholm from Malmo, Sweden, very early this morning Eastern time.
No, yeah, it's been tough. It's been 2 years almost when I've been struggling back and forth. It's been hell of a ride, but I couldn't defeat my worst enemy, I'm afraid. So it's the worst thing, to be honest, has been the setbacks. When I tore my Achilles in the US, my rehab was going like a ladder. It's up. It was going better and better and better. So that kind of rehab, when you do it, I did it for 10 months, but it was going the right direction all the time. So then it's not that hard, to be honest. But this rehab, when it goes up and then you go down and then you go up and then you go down, that's way, way tougher because you don't see the ending in it.
I guess we call that an emotional roller coaster. And that's a really good comparison, because that Achilles was such a serious injury. And then when you hear about a groin injury, you think, all right, I just, if I do a rehab it right and rest a little bit, eventually I'll get back.
No, for sure. That's the thing, sometimes it's better to have like this serious injury and you're having a surgery and then you're doing a rehab and then it's getting better. But for this, it's been a little bit unclear what to do to stop the symptoms. So that has we've done a surgery, we've done a lot of injections, we've done a long rehab carefully, and nothing worked out. So
Sorry, you've joined the old man category, I guess, with me.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not, but I'm the oldest almost the oldest in the locker room now. I'm gonna study, so I'm talking to and work a little bit. And when I'm getting into like that work, I'm like one of the youngest. So that's pretty good to hear.
When you say study, are you so you're talking about your next steps? Are you looking at coaching?
No, I don't want to be on the field at all. So I'm studying economics, a bachelor in economics. So that I'm gonna go 100% with now. Yeah, I guess it's for the future to have a good education and then work like within finance or banking or something like that. So I'm a person that doesn't like to be by myself and to do nothing. I want to do stuff. So I think it's like a really, really tough time right now, but still the future is bright, and it's always better to be positive than negative. It's actually a study on like you do it online. So it's like a full bachelor in economics, but everything is online except the exams. So then you have to go there and sit with other students, and it's bring back memory, from the good old days. But it's pretty nice, to be honest. You're like sitting there and like I know there is like many things that's way more important, but in that moment the most important thing in your life is to get the exam done, so it's not exactly like a game, because in a game you like 20,000 cheer on you or they like boo on you, but here it's like it's not gonna happen when you done a exam, but I still pretend to it's like that.
Maybe you could convince your professor to bring in a couple of supporters when you're taking the exam, just to
if I fail, it's the other way.
Your emotions of the day. You said it was quite an emotional day. It makes sense. And you said you've been prepared for this day, but then when it happens, you're like, okay. Can you go through some of your emotions today? Like maybe just how the day started and what they did for you there?
So it's been decided that I have to retire for like weeks now. So I felt like I was prepared for it. But then, it went official by the club at like 10 a.m. Swedish time. And right away I got a lot of messages from and from friends and like from everyone, and then it's getting like so emotional right away, and like because they say such a nice things, and they really thank me for these years, and whatever, and then I did media here as well, and gonna talk about like how family matters, and like how much they've been there for me, and I had to pause for a little bit because it was too emotional, but it's emotions, you can't really control it. It's you can prepare yourself, but then it all comes when you start speaking about it. So that's what I love about football as well. So.
Well, you've been doing it a long time. And it's actually nice to hear people say nice things about you. A lot of times that happens after you die. There's a eulogy and people say really nice things about you. So you got to hear a lot of it before.
That's true, actually. So I keep on living, but they still say nice things. So yeah, I bring that with me.
I took you wrote a letter to the supporters. It's in Swedish, so I did a Google Translate, so this is the best I could do. But there was one line in here which I thought was pretty interesting. You talked about moving to Malmo, which apparently, was a huge move for you as a youth player, as a young player. And then you said, here you are allowed to think you are the best. There is a confidence and an ability to get things done while being warm and caring. That's pretty interesting, because a lot of times that last part's not evident when you go to a city. They if you don't win a game, you don't even want to show up at the coffee shop the next day, I suppose.
Yeah, no, but that's what I told Swedish media as well. That like with all the supporters and the culture here, it's like, yeah, many people is just saying, yeah, you have to win, otherwise we're gonna criticize you, and yeah, you shit. But like there is so many more. Yeah, there is gonna be some people who is like that, but like most people I met is like more caring, and they actually care about you as a person. And I'm feeling like this last 2 years when I've been struggling, it's so many people that like texting me and wonder how is it going and are thinking about you, and like you're still part of the group, and like it's yeah, football is so much more than just what happens 90 minutes on the pitch. So I think the culture here is often mentioned like yeah, you just have to win, and yeah, that's maybe be the case, but there is so much more that a lot of people doesn't see.
You made another big move when you went from Malmo, which is a city, and I've been there. It's a wonderful place right on the sea. But then you moved to New York City, which is what a difference culturally, and you made that move successfully. So for the New York City supporters that might tune into this, what are some of your fondest memories there? What do you take away from your experience with New York City?
No, but it's kind of similar. Like I've been honest to them and said like you can't really compare like the American supporter culture to the Swedish one, because here it's like a lifestyle, and it's so much more, and like there is like so much more people caring about it, and that it's like organizations around it, and yeah, you're getting better and better in the States, but you can't really compare. But the people I met in New York, the fans, I was even there and like painting like a flag or whatever one time to help them. But like I really appreciate what they're doing, because it's almost like I appreciate what they're doing more than what they're doing here, because there's not that many people who cares. In here it's like everyone cares,
Right.
but in New York it's just not just a few, but like if you compare to how many people living in the city, you can't really compare it to here. So what they did and like how they've been supporting us has been great. But I've been telling them from the start, like it's not easy to do to put up a fantastic atmosphere in the like Yankee Stadium. It went better on like Citi Field, way better. I like the atmosphere way better there, but they really needed a stadium, and they really got what they deserve now. So I can't wait for the opening game there. I really gonna try my best to be there at the opening game, because then the fans and everyone else have the chance to get like an electric atmosphere at the stadium. But like I said, I really appreciate the people working hard around the club as well, like the fans. They do a lot of work and support that you don't see. You just see it like a flag and the opening minutes of a game, and you don't see more. But there is so much more connected to that.
Oh, mutual admiration between Anton Tinnerholm and New York City FC. I love the fact that he wants to come in for the opening of the new stadium. And it made me think, how cool would it be to have a big group of alums, come in and be there on that opening day and present them. And Roberto, you're muted.
I sound better when I'm muted. They should bring everybody in. Yeah, I know you'd agree. They should, everybody, as many of the former players that they can bring in, they should bring in, and I think the fans would be thrilled to see them. I mean, what's a team without history? So you've got to go and make sure that everybody, gets to see this and be part of it. I think it's going to be an extraordinary day, and just hope that the weather cooperates in either late February, early March 2027.
Yep. And Anton answered your question. He has no desire to be on the field or in coaching or finance, baby. You have a new financial advisor after he gets his degree, you know?
Hey, I'll take his advice, no problem. And I like the fact that he mentioned something that was important. He doesn't want to work alone. He doesn't want to be isolated. He wants to be around people. And yes, it makes sense. I mean, he's a people person. And so I fully agree with that. I think it's a great, he has a real good understanding of where he is. I like that. I like that a lot. Bright guy, easy to be around, easy to talk to. I mean, he could spend 10 minutes with you. I mean, that's not easy. And yet he made it, he made it look good.
No, and it was, and I definitely looked a little, I had just awakened. Well, there's a long story behind it, but I'm glad I caught it and was able to. I listened to 20 minutes of questions in Swedish and responses by him in Swedish. So I was just sitting there. I couldn't Google translate that. But Anton Tinnerholm, as of 10 a.m. this morning Swedish time, he announced his retirement from the game, and a lot of good times here with New York City. As we close, a couple of things here, Roberto. Number one, I want to share this photo. Paris FC was promoted to Ligue 1 in France. And I didn't know this, but look how close their stadium is to PSG. This is not this is not a manufactured photo or a doctored photo. This is where these two stadiums are. So when they play each other, this is madness. I love this.
I thought PSG was leaving that stadium. That they're no longer going to be using that stadium. They're going to go in someplace else. I'm talking about the stadium on the right here.
I'm just following the lead of the news that somebody had a picture.
No, I get that. Yeah, but what? I mean, I don't get it. You know.
How great is that? It's just like, if somebody shanks a shot, man, it goes into the other stadium. I mean,
I understand, if it's a baseball stadium and a soccer stadium next to each other, that is going to happen in Queens.
Yeah, that looks very.
I've been in Philadelphia where you have a baseball hockey arena next to a football stadium next to a baseball stadium. That makes it, but two soccer stadiums, one 60,000 and the other 30,000 right next to each other. God, that just seems like a waste of money. But hey, what do I know?
So, and finally, our air times are 2:45 for the game on Sunday against FC Cincinnati for the pregame show. And you have Andres Perea. I will have Pascal Jansen. But it's also Star Wars Day or night or whatever you want to call it. And I'm mentioning that because I just received a text from my broadcast partner, Matty Lawrence, I guess, who just realized it and said, should we come in costume? And of course, he's kidding. But then my response to him, no, but Joe Tollison will be. Now,
is he really?
Joe, I think, in speaking to Joe today, I believe there'll be some costuming going on with the stadium announcer. He's down
Troy
on the field
Press
with Troy and Joe, and they do a lot of
and Marisol. Let's not forget Marisol Gonzalez.
And so I'm assuming that all three of them will be in some sort of Star Wars.
Well,
garb.
maybe.
But get the video. I'm just saying, get the photos and videos rolling. Maybe I told Joe, if that really happens, man, there's gonna be some stuff up on social media. There's little question of that.
It looks like it's going to be a fun day. I hope there's a great crowd. I guess, 23,000 tickets on sale for that. So we will see. And I was looking yesterday on resale. Tickets were somewhere below $25. So if you haven't made up your mind about going, and that's with all the fees included.
As we close, may the 4th be with you. It's May 4th, that game. So isn't that lovely?
That's why they're doing this, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, very nice. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Jimmy producing this thing. For Roberto, I'm Glenn. We look forward to joining you again on Sunday. But thanks so much for being with us here on a Friday night. And it's NYCFC Views Live.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.